안녕하십니까. It's a pleasure to be here today. I hope that you have enjoyed the event so far. What I have found is that it's an excellent forum for understanding some of the newest aspects of technology. And for those of you who were able to watch my session on personal cloud, one point I wanted to emphasize based on some questions that I received after my presentation, and that is the personal computer that so many of you are using right now to enter your notes. That won't go away. It simply stops being the center of your digital universe. How would you like to work this? Other questions coming in, or would you like me to present? What would be the preferred form?
Maybe present about a little bit more what you presented earlier.
Wonderful.
And then after that, we'll take questions.
Terrific. So one of the important aspects that we find about personal cloud specifically is the disruption that it has to the business model. So for those of you who saw Mr. Ballmer present earlier today from Microsoft, he presented the platform of Windows 8. And you might have noticed that Mr. Ballmer barely mentioned Android or Google, which was, I'm sure, purposeful. That's a key competitor of Microsoft's for dominance of the platform. And if you think of the success that the Samsung Galaxy has had as an example, that's based on the opportunities that the Google Android platform currently offers. That's where the battle is being waged today, is between those platform providers. But imagine how disruptive it is to Google or Microsoft or Apple or Amazon if you, as an individual consumer, are in control of which of your devices can work with one another. And at Gartner, we have 800 industry experts, analysts throughout the world, some of whom are here today, based here in Seoul. And our work with large businesses and governments indicates that it's the consumers, it's all of us as individual consumers that are bringing our devices into the workplace. So even though my talk was about personal cloud and very much focused on the consumer market, it actually has really large implications for the business environment as well. And what I see are incredible opportunities here in Korea. When I think of, some of you may be familiar with a wireless technology called WiMAX. It actually started here as a proprietary protocol before it was adopted on a global basis. If I think of the social network Cyworld and the environment that that offers, that is unique from Facebook or any of the others. So I see an opportunity for the people of Korea, really, to lead the IT industry and identify which aspects of personal cloud can most adapt to the Korean people and then extend elsewhere around the world. One other point that I'll make, which is if you think of this trend of personalization, of resources that are beyond the device that you have in front of you, combined with the level of personal innovation that we bring to our workplace, imagine the challenges that all of the businesses here in Korea and around the world have in trying to contain the security, accessibility, private information in case your device is lost. So what we at Gartner end up doing is working a great deal with technology leaders in industries all around the world to understand how do you deal with this level of change, consumerization, as we call it, and adaptability to things like personal cloud and other innovations that we have in IT. It's a good question, Jennifer, because the number of mobile devices that are here in Asia is far higher proportionally than elsewhere in Western Europe or North America, for example, compared to the PC. So South Korea has some of the highest levels of wired high-speed internet access in the world. That's actually an anomaly for Asia Pacific overall. More typically, mobile devices are what's used to access the internet, and that is by far the fastest growing aspect. So the implications of personal cloud for the broader Asia Pacific region are actually more significant than they are elsewhere in the world because of the mobility of the consumer and frankly, the size of the market and the number of individuals that will access applications, devices, and platforms. Absolutely. I had an interesting conversation with the CIO of a leading cable operator in Spain some months ago. And he was interested because he had been working within a media company as the back office person running the systems and the servers. And he was incredibly frustrated because his CEO had asked him to reduce costs time and time again, driven by cloud infrastructures and other advances in technology. And the CIO was frustrated because he was being viewed as only a tactical IT infrastructure provider within his own firm. So we worked with this CIO and his management team to reimagine the role that he could play in revenue generation for the company. I mean, think of it. Broadcasting is to media what the assembly line is to manufacturing, right? You produce it once, you have one sporting event, you make one television show or a movie, and you broadcast it to as many millions of people as you possibly can. But to answer your question, what we helped this CIO in Spain do, and where we advise media companies all around the world to consider, is how can you personalize the content, or if not the content itself, at least how you interact with, share, participate in, and engage with the content in multiple devices, with multiple people, and in multiple circles of family and friends. And what we find is that that generates incremental advertising revenues, which still remains the backbone of the media industry. You used an excellent word, which is trust, right? Embodied in it are aspects of privacy and security, but you absolutely used the proper English word of trust. And the implication is that we're often asked this as Gartner, is we're said, well, because you can purchase goods on the internet so easily, because there are thousands of different media outlets in order to get information, what happens to the value of the brand that consumers have used for millennia to understand whom they're buying from? So perhaps counterintuitively, we see the importance of the brand increasing significantly in the era of the cloud because there are so many confusing choices to be made. There certainly will be breaches of trust, but the most successful companies will establish a brand which will have lasting trust, and they will not only have their own services, but create an ecosystem or an aggregation of services associated with consumer or business or government activities, and they will have the trust of the consumer. That's how they will monetize their activity in the cloud space for consumers or businesses alike. And if I may, I'll provide one data point in the business environment. Gartner has about 4,000 CIOs as clients of ours, and we asked, at what point will half of your transactions occur in the public cloud? Frankly, we were surprised at how rapidly CIOs expect to move half of their transactions or more to the public cloud, because by 2014, they expect more than half of those transactions to occur on public infrastructure, far more rapid adoption than we had originally predicted. In other words, they are trusting their providers and they're getting over the concerns of privacy that they have as a business. Well, it's interesting to understand who wins in the personal cloud area. You have to consider how each company makes its money. So Apple only gets 5% of its revenues from all of iTunes combined. Wow. So Apple makes all of its money off of selling devices, while Microsoft makes some money from the true applications that they have, but most of their money comes from the operating systems that they want to embed in as many systems, many devices as possible. And Google, of course, makes its money not from the operating system and not from selling devices, but from selling advertising information based on your usage. If you think of those three business models, of those three, the one that would benefit the most from personal cloud is Google, because they would want it to span multiple platforms, multiple devices. But there is enormous room for Naver, Dong, Cyworld, SK Telecom, Korea Telecom, for any other player to provide the types of services that Personal Cloud promises and to monetize either the usage over a network, for example, or virtual goods that SciWorld may sell, or advertising information that can be gathered based on Personal Cloud behavior. So it could be other players as well. And to your question, I believe it was regarding both LG and Samsung, was that correct?
LG와 삼성에 대해서 질문을 하신 건가요?
Both?
두 번째 부분이요?
Both.
Yes.
So if you think of the evolution of all of technology, it starts with something standardized, often a hard product. That's where the first value comes from. Then the next layer is indeed the software. You only have to look at Sun Microsystems being acquired by Oracle as an example of the hardware value was limited and the software value of Oracle dominated. So in this space, it would be up to Samsung and LG to either develop the software platforms themselves, which can generate significant incremental value, to partner with additional software companies that would work particularly well on the Samsung and LG platforms, or to consider other types of revenue sharing models where they can get access to more than just the device purchase itself. We would expect that to take place for virtually every technology infrastructure company.